Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Hopefully you're having a great day. First up today, Tesla Charging shared a new Tesla supercharger has been installed, Kettleman City, California. 55 stalls, so one of the bigger ones, and as you can see, this is brand new. There is still dirt and gravel, so I would imagine that they will get this paved here shortly, but definitely should help alleviate some congestion in that area. We also get a first look at the Mattel Tesla Cybertruck that DA Eric has actually already put together, and he shared a video of it on Twitter, so I wanted to share it with you guys in case you missed it.
Full of all the doors open, the interior, it's got an opening frunk with adjustable suspension. The back opens, and this comes all the way out. Ta-da! Again, adjustable suspension, so I could drop that if I want through there. It's got a tonneau cover. It's hard to do with one hand, like so. I think it is pretty good. Let me know if you're interested in hiring me to help make the real Cybertruck so I can put it in this garage. Thanks.
Now, when it comes to Giga Berlin, we get this from Der Tagesspiegel. Final approval possibly next week, as we had talked about the other day. But now Tesla is saying that they do not have any intentions of delivering any vehicles from Giga Berlin until 2022. Basically to ensure that production quality is on point. Tesla has said series production and the start of deliveries are no longer expected before the end of the year, even if vehicles are already being produced by then after approval has been granted. They want to first produce a certain number of vehicles in order to be sure that the desired quality and the desired customer experience can be guaranteed. And just to be clear, any of the production that's taken place already, whether it's certain parts or the actual final Model Y vehicles, none of those can be used for sales purposes. And Tesla reiterated what we talked about yesterday. The curve, meaning the production curve, production ramp, cannot be precisely predicted. This is mainly due to the novelty of the design, the technology, as well as the teams and employees, meaning they have to hire more people as production continues to scale. I personally think this is really important because there is going to be a laser focus on the initial wave of deliveries of these new Giga Berlin made Model Ys that are supposed to have micron precision, the world's best paint shop, the Giga castings, and everything that we've been talking about and harping on for months. So if those initial cars off this new line have poor quality, you can guarantee it's going to get picked apart. So Tesla really should take their time here and make sure that as early on as possible, precision is nailed down as best as possible. Jay in Shanghai on Twitter shared a great video of a side-by-side comparison doing a speed test of the user interface on a Model 3 of the old Intel Atom processor versus the new AMD Ryzen chip. So have a look. And this is just me here, but if I was considering buying a Tesla in the next few weeks, I would really wait to see if the US versions were going to get this AMD Ryzen chip, because I think it might be worth waiting for. Of course, you're going to be waiting for your vehicle anyways, but I would definitely want to ensure that my vehicle is going to have this in it. as I do think it's a pretty significant user experience upgrade. And as we talked about yesterday, so there's a lot going on with delivery dates and timeline changes. This user was expecting their delivery between February and March 2022, but they just got an update saying it was moved to next week, the first week of December. So he was asking why this may have happened. Now, nobody really knows for sure, but I think part of it might be there is currently a plethora of people who are delaying their orders with the expectation that they're going to take advantage of the tax credit in 2022. So they want to lock in the lower prices now, expecting potential future price increases, and then keep delaying their actual purchase until 2022 to take advantage of the tax credit. So if a lot of people start delaying their delivery, then people might be bumped up the delivery timeframe. Now, of course, it's not that simple. There's much more that goes into it, all the way down to the different components and the availability. However, I just wanted to point this out because I do think for Q4, this is something we have to keep in mind with a large percentage of United States customers potentially delaying their delivery and order until next year, meaning that yes, Q4 we think is going to be very strong, but this paired with the new Tesla strategy of trying to flatten out that delivery wave might show a little bit of weakness and maybe a slight revision down for the expectations for Q4 deliveries. Nothing at all to worry about. It still should be a great, amazing quarter. All I'm really saying is that if I was somebody that did quarterly projections for deliveries, I would probably be revising down maybe just a few thousand vehicles. As mentioned, nothing crazy, just something to keep in mind. Chuck Cook, one of my favorite FSD beta testers, he said that he's basically having some issues with the new 10.5 with inaccurate driver monitoring, and he asked Elon to fix this or make it less punitive. Then he added, I can barely press the snapshot button to report an issue with the beta. If I miss the button on the first attempt, I can't try again without an alert usually, and at that point it's too late. So in essence, the small size of the snapshot button on FSD beta is a trap for me. So from what I'm reading, it seems like people that sit higher up or taller people are the ones more often than not having problems with the driver monitoring system. So let me know if you guys have experienced similar issues. A brief note here about the EV tax credit and that $4,500 for the unions. Asked if the final provision could include a smaller union bonus or revision that could make other automakers eligible with high labor standards, Gary Peters, Michigan's other US senator, told Reuters, I think a lot's on the table right now. He continued, I wouldn't want to negotiate in public as to what it's going to look like, but it's likely going to change. So here we have some interesting news from Renew Economy with regard to new network fees that could, quote, kill the viability of battery storage. You may know Tesla already has battery storage systems in Australia, so this would definitely impact that business model, and we'll get on what these network fees are momentarily, but Tesla has said that this proposal for battery storage is inappropriate, discriminatory, and misaligned with a national electricity objective. These charges kill the commercial viability of all grid storage projects, causing inefficient investment in alternative network and or less flexible generation assets, this according to Tesla. One of Tesla's partners, Neoen, has said the economics of storage are already challenging battery storage. Further loading up costs merely discourages storage systems to commit. Consumers are left with more volatile wholesale outcomes and miss out on the reliability and security benefits of storage. Now, the good news is this article goes on to list many different industry players who are opposed to this change. They have been lobbying against it. This was actually proposed back in July, but the board is essentially expected to vote on this Thursday. And when I say the board, I mean the Australian Energy Market Commission, or the AEMC, who will release its final decision this Thursday on new rules for integrating batteries, pumped hydro, and other forms of storage. Their decision has angered many firms because it proposed charging storage providers for drawing power, ignoring a recommendation by the Australian Electricity Market Operator, AEMO, that they be exempt. One hydro company said this is a major policy change amounting to a tax on infrastructure critical to achieving a renewable future. And others are saying it just doesn't have to be this way. In Britain, for example, the regulator dealing with the same issues has said storage devices don't pay the system charges when they withdraw electricity from the grid. The prospect that storage operators will have to pay transmission charges could drastically affect their profitability, since their business models rely on the difference between the price they pay for power and how much they can sell it for. And here is the heart of what these new network fees are. The AEMC wants electricity flowing through batteries to be taxed twice to pay these network charges. Once when the electricity charges the battery, and then again when the same electricity is sent out by the battery an hour or two later, but this time with the customers paying. All of this to say, there is precedence for this network fee not existing in other locations. That's a good thing. We have a huge swath of the renewable industry up in arms and angry and being vocal about this new network charge, so that should play some role. But ultimately, this vote will come down to the AEMC. Now, if you are frustrated with the Australian government, I would highly recommend watching this video. It is definitely pretty funny. However, there is a significant amount of profanity, but I've linked it below if you want to check it out. Moving on, Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen had some testimony today in front of the Senate Banking Committee, and long story short, it looks like Powell is a bit more concerned about inflation, maybe not being so transitory. So all of this to say that they might be slowing down their bond buying program sooner rather than later. So Powell said, "It is therefore appropriate, in my view, to consider wrapping up the taper of our asset purchases, which we actually announced at our November meeting, perhaps a few months sooner," citing, "I think the risk of higher inflation has increased." There was a pretty good article from the New York Times about Tesla's role in China and how they are going to basically uplift all of these other Chinese automakers, but I just want to point out a few key points. So Tesla commissioned what it called the world's largest casting machines from LK in 2019. Now you may be thinking, well, Dylan, what about Idra? Well, we'll get there. And so you know, this is Liu Xiangsong, the founder of LK Technology. Remember that. Mr. Liu said that LK worked side by side with Tesla for over a year to make the machine, the GigaCast. Every once in a while, they would ask us whether it was possible to do this or that. With each revision they made, we needed to make changes in our machines too. So these statements would lead us to believe that Tesla has some IP in these machines that might not make it to these machines for other automakers. But where Idra comes in, at the height of the global financial crisis in 2008, he, Mr. Liu, made two strategic moves with two companies that were at the brink of bankruptcy. He became an equipment supplier for GM, and he acquired Idra, an Italian casting equipment maker, for about $5 million. Pretty sharp move. In addition to Tesla, LK will supply similar giant casting machines to 6 Chinese companies by early 2022 as more automakers adopt Tesla's way of making cars. And yes, LK hopes to deliver the same types of casting machines to many Chinese companies in the next 2 years, but some of those companies are struggling to find car designers of the type and talent that Tesla has aplenty. Mr. Liu said, "We have a bottleneck in designers in China." Just a quick note on this article, it says Tesla Cybertruck will have a yoke steering wheel. Now, I just kind of want to pump the brakes on this a little bit. That headline is coming from this tweet. You probably saw it. Will Cybertruck have a yoke? Elon said, "Cybertruck is intentionally an insane technology bandwagon." So yes, you could easily interpret that to mean he's confirming that it will. However, I wouldn't say that's official confirmation. I have to be honest, I'm a little torn on the yoke in the Cybertruck. I just think about all of the people who use their trucks for, towing and hauling and having to reverse boats, and people that won't want a yoke to do these things. And it's not just the yoke though, it's the capacitive button. So think of all the people in the winter or, who wear gloves to work when they're driving. They don't want to, do the turn signal with gloves on or have to take their gloves off. I just think there should at least be the option to have a regular wheel with a regular stock on the Cybertruck. Just my opinion. What do you guys think? Tesla sales in Israel have went up more than 700%. So just quickly, in the first 11 months of this year, there were over 9,600 EVs sold in Israel. The Model 3 took the lion's share of that figure. Tesla delivered 5,280 cars in Israel this year, accounting for 55% of all EV sales so far this year. Now, there is a lot of speculation flying around about SpaceX right now, but first, Sawyer said, "The rumor is SpaceX is in the process of completing an employee tender round where insiders who currently have shares were able to sell some to private equity investors at the same price they just raised funds at. Apparently though, the participation rate was lower than anticipated, and the private equity funds who are on the cap table that get access to shares were only given about half of their anticipated allocation, meaning a lot of insiders chose not to sell their shares for immediate liquidity. This likely means SpaceX employees believe in SpaceX, its progress, and feel like they want to continue to own a piece of this great company. Unlike what some recent reports may suggest, SpaceX's future is very bright." And a lot of that negativity was coming from an email that Elon sent to SpaceX employees, and he brought up the risk of bankruptcy, basically due to some Raptor engine issues. Now, all I really want to say is I think the risk of bankruptcy for SpaceX is very low. There is a long line of investors who are ready to give SpaceX money, who are ready to help them with liquidity in the event that they do have an ongoing issue with these Raptor engines. And it's likely that Elon is just using this as a way to add extra motivation to get the engineering team to move quicker and figure it out faster. And to send you guys off today, I will leave you with a brief clip from Holmar's catalog and his FSD Beta 10.5 drive. It was a 9.5-hour drive in post-Thanksgiving nightmare traffic, all completely automated. That's all for today. Please take a second to like the video if you did. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.